Hello and welcome to the latest Tinto talk. That is the game that we're all incredibly hyped about. Europa Universalis 5. We have another dev diary to read. It is all about Islam and how the Islamic mechanics work in the game that we're all incredibly hyped about. Now, if you are as hyped as me, then maybe you should click the subscribe button, because I talk about this game every 4 times a week or something like that, and if you want to stay informed about everything coming out about this game, then that might be just the best thing that you could possibly do. So you get to see the videos where I talk about this game. I'm rambling. Let's move in to the Tinto talk itself. Islam, welcome to another Tinto Talks, the happy Wednesdays where we talk about EU5. Today we'll talk about the mechanics of Islam. In EU5, it's considered a religious group, just like Christianity and Buddhism. So, includes the following: Ibadism, Shiaism. How do you say it when it's... I know it's like Shiite, but like there's no T. Shiite, I thought it was like Shiite. I don't know. Shiism? Whatever. Sunniism as well. Islam, a monotheistic religion founded by Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century, espouses the belief in one God, Allah, and follows the teachings of the Quran. With its various denominations like Sunni and Shia, Islam has profoundly impacted societies, fostering cultural, scientific, and political advancements across continents, as we see there. So, 3 religions compose the group: Sunniism, Shiitism, and Ibadism. Here we have for Sunniism, slaves working with raw materials is yes. So when you are upgrading your RGOs, then you're going to be able to use slaves in those upgrades rather than, I still think it's laborers, but it might be peasants. I can't remember. But you'll be able to use slaves instead, which is, I think, very, very powerful. Because you can take slaves when you go to war, so it might be, as a Sunni nation, in your benefit to go to war purely to take back labor to work in the mines. You get some religious figures, and you're allowed +1 of them if you're Sunni. Trade efficiency +1% is pretty good. You cannot import wine, liquor, or beer, so they're going with the alcohol not allowed. 32.5 million Sunni pops in the world, the largest of which for countries is the Mamluks. Then we have Morocco, Tunis, Yemen's there, Tlemcen, Golden Horde, and Delhi. Sunnism holds that the leadership of Islam was passed to Abu Bakr when he was chosen as Khalifa at the meeting of Saqifa by the companions of Muhammad, as the Prophet himself did not appoint any successor. It thus reveres the Al-Rashidun, the first 4 Khalifa after Muhammad, as the model of governance, which is different to how Shia sees it. So Shia differences between Sunnism and Shiism. We have same slaves working on raw materials, same religious figures allowed. These guys actually have some morale instead of the trade efficiency, though, which seems quite nice. Also bans alcohol. There is almost 5 million Shiite pups in the world. The Sheikhdom of Mecca is the largest. We also have Jarwanids, Yam, Medina, Badukans, Kartan, and Tabaristan. The basis of the Shiite faith is that Muhammad designated Ali ibn Abi Talib as his successor as the spiritual and political leader of Islam. As such, the imamate is to follow Ali's line, rather than the one established by Abu Bakr when he was chosen as Khalifa at the meeting of Saqifa by the companions of Muhammad. Again, with all, like, K with a line under it, I with a line over it, I'm not going to get these correct. It just is what it is. Here we have Ibadism. They also have the slaves working on raw materials. They also have religious figures allowed. These guys, though, have +5% trade advantage and +5% shipbuilding speed. There is 580,000, and there is only one country following the Ibadi faith, that being the Sheikhdom of Oman. Believed to be a descendant of the Al-Khawarij, who first were supporters of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but later rejected his arbitration. The Ibadi school distanced itself from the Al-Khawarij following taking a more moderate approach and more positive view towards many different Muslim branches, having similarities with many of the other schools. Okay, fair enough. If I remember rightly, Ibadi was only really available in, like, North Africa when playing EU4. It was also very trade related, so that makes sense there. But it was a religion that people often wanted to change into because of its trading stuff. Anyway, they share similar features, and then inside them is where they make the religious differentiation. So we have our society tab here for the religion. You can see, I don't know who we're playing as while looking at this, but we can see liturgical language of Arabic makes sense there. Whoever this is has 23 religious unity, conversion rate, all of that good stuff. They don't own any holy sites. And they also have, just like in EU4, we're bringing that mechanic back, schools, religious schools, and also piety. This part is a little bit controversial, contentious. Some people are disagreeing with the existence of piety, but we're going to get into that. 0 religious figures from other schools. I guess this is part of Hanafi. Hopefully they explain a little bit about that. But you also have some religious actions. You can call a jihad, gain some manpower. This is another part that people are like, excuse me, this probably shouldn't exist. You can improve stability. You can go on a pilgrimage, and you can change your main school. The first mechanic is schools, old companion from EU4 that's been reworked for EU5. The Holy Scripture may be infallible, but distinct schools of thought have developed on how laws and norms are best aligned with it. Which school a country follows will affect its path ahead. So Muslim countries start with a school which gives some modifiers. So this Hanafi school gives plus 10% max literacy for the clergy, and they're kindred with all the other school, or all of these schools. I don't know if there's more than that. The Hanafi is named after Abu Hanifa, this guy. School originated in Kufa and is prominent throughout Farsi and Turkic world, including northern India. Though textual sources in the Quran and Hadith are given preference, Hanafi followers have an inclusive view of sources and also employ analogy, juristic discretion, and local customs in their jurisprudence. Some view it as the most flexible of the schools. As you can see, each school, can we see each school having a different view than the other, considering you only shared one of them? Either way, it's important because you can invite scholars of schools that are available for your branch of Islam, and also don't have a negative opinion of your chosen school. Because yes, the old EU4 scholars are also present in EU5, but they're now inside a new category, the religious figures, which gives some more flexibility on how to use them. So religious figures are characters that travel the earth, bringing religious bonuses to places they settle. They can be hired by countries of the appropriate religion. Although we can only follow one religious school directly, we can invite religious figures from other schools to draw inspiration from them and gain some of their benefits. A religious figure can be any of the following types below. We have scholars and we have gurus. So gurus is obviously for not Hindu, it's Sikhism. And scholars are, I guess, for Islam. And it's, again, this seems like here is this framework of a mechanic that so many different things can be placed into this framework to fit your needs. If you are a modder, this is probably going to be incredibly powerful for you. Religious figures, you could have it be for many different religions. You could have it be for all of your religions, having religious figures, pilgrims, that kind of thing, moving around, doing various things, saints or whatever. Like, it's so powerful as a system, and I really, really like that. So, scholars are learned individuals and knowledgeable about Muslim law. They debate principles of jurisprudence and theology of Islam. So, you can invite religious figure here, giving you a little bit more stability. The efficiency of your cabinet up by 25% is huge, but religious figures cannot be rulers. Unlocks the possibility to change the main school of your country to that of the scholar. And now they have it costing 70 stability. There is a comment that we're going to get to when I get to the comments, where someone says, is this not maybe a little bit too expensive? It might be reworked. This cost might be brought down significantly. Because if you think about it, there are in EU4 7 different stability breakpoints. Right? So, if you take an calculator and do 200, because that's how much we have in EU5, divided by 7, every 28.5 stability in EU5 is the equivalent of 1 stability in EU4. So, if you think this is like 2 and a bit stability. Would you spend 2 and a bit stability on changing your school in EU4? I don't think many people would. Spending 1 stability, that's we can think about this. Costing 2 stability is a bit much. So maybe this could be changed to something about like 30. 30 stability to change your school, that seems reasonable. It's roughly how much you spend to go to war, in fact, if you are doing a no-CB. So, yeah, no-CB is way cheaper in EU5 than EU4, but other things like this may be more expensive. Yeah, I think changing this to 30 would be a decent compromise, maybe 35. But anyway, here we have the Atari school. A lot of people... I was about to make a Atari console joke, but I realized my average age of my audience is way too young to know what the Atari console is, so let's just move on. Anyway, the Atari School of Theology rejects a rational interpretation of the scriptures in favor of stricter reading of the texts of the Quran and Hadith, considering them the sole authorities, being against any form of religious innovation, refuse any kind of rationality that is not based on the text of the Quran. So a little bit more stringent, strict, conservative, let's say, than the one that we had earlier. So you can change your religious school, gaining piety, and then you become Atari. Cool. In total, they have 10 Sunni schools, 11 Sufi schools, so for both Sunni and Shia, except for 3 of them, 8 Shia-only schools, and then there's 1 Ibadi school. Very cool. Okay, so yeah. Chishti is only for Sunni, whatever, I can't pronounce these. Anyway, these are all of the schools, and I'm sure somebody more versed in Islamic history or Islamic present, I have no idea, will be able to see. Are these still exist, etc.? I don't know. I assume as much. I have no idea. Anyway, moving on to the thing that is the controversy. We have piety. Returning concept of EU4. Piety can go from -100 to +100, representing mysticism or legalism, respectively, giving scaling benefits to the country depending on the direction. So we have in this save that he's taken this from, they have no piety, they don't get any piety every month, but you can see if you have scaling higher piety, you gain clergy state satisfaction, monthly research progress, and efficiency of cabinet. If you go below, you also get clergy estate satisfaction, army morale, and pop conversion speed. This is here, and it is not a bug. It is not a typo. Basically, the clergy want you to be either full mysticism or full legalism. They don't like it if you're in the middle. So yeah, do you want research and efficiency, or do you want morale and pop conversion speed? So before we go on to more of this topic, I'm going to bring you back to a couple of weeks ago where I posted this on my YouTube community tab page thingamabob, and it's the mana alignment chart. And while piety wasn't specifically mentioned here, I think it is something that is a little bit interesting. So, mana alignment chart, what do you consider to be a form of mana? If you are just in the camp of only the monarch points in EU4 are mana, then you are a diegetic gameplay purist. If you consider papal influence to be mana, and I would say that piety for Islam falls under this category too, then you might be a gameplay purist, a diegetic neutral. If you think money is mana, you're wrong, and we don't associate with your type of person. Personally, I sit somewhere like here-ish, because I can see the case for true neutral, I can see the case for neutral purist, I can see that I sit somewhere here, right? I can see where people are coming from when they're calling piety as mana. As mana is something that a currency that you can accumulate, and then you can spend that currency, and now you can say, oh, that counts like gold. Your money is mana in that definition. I think there must be a requirement, or there must be a thing on your definition of mana that says that it needs to be more abstracted from reality to be more of a mana. So money is not very abstracted from reality as a concept. Money exists in real life. So I would say it is not a mana for that reason. But piety is... How abstracted is that from a real life concept? It's getting a little bit in the weeds there, but I can see where people are coming from when they say it's mana. So, piety will be modified towards one extreme or the other, mainly through events, although there are some ways of adding passive monthly tendency towards one direction, including privileges and cabinet actions. Another important aspect to mention regarding piety is the fact that to be able to invite a scholar belonging to any of the Sufi schools, the country must already be leaning towards mysticism. Fair enough. A couple of actions in which the country can spend its piety to gain some benefits. A country can exchange piety for either stability or manpower, and both actions require being at 50 piety towards either direction and move the value 40 towards the center. So, you get 200% of your yearly income of manpower with a button click. Now, here's the rub. Here is the controversial part. If you are able to gain this piety, or I guess lose this piety fast enough, because if we say 0 is the center, negative is legalism, positive is mysticism, or it could be the other way around. Either way, whatever. If you're able to if you're able to get up to 50 fast enough, then this, especially as you get towards later periods of the game, is an exceptionally high amount of manpower. And it is the same as in EU4. EU4 has that slider. You go, I think, to like 90, and on the piety side, not piety side, on the legalism side, then you can get -2 corruption. If you go the other side, you can get a bunch of manpower. And it is very, very, very powerful. Hopefully it is less powerful here. And also the idea is, like, where is this manpower coming from? I think you can rationalize it because having manpower isn't your pops. This is like potential manpower. It's potential people in your army. It's only when you convert that manpower into soldiers on the map, either via replacing casualties or by building new units, that those pops are, removed from your labor, or from your pool of pops. So I don't think it's bad. It's not inventing new pops out of nowhere. It's just saying that more are able to become soldiers. So in that way, I'm on one side of the fence, fine with it, but also it does feel very gamey. It is a very gamey button, and I think the people arguing that it is kind of against the grain of what EU5 is aiming to be, they do have a point. Do I sit on one side of the fence or the other? I'm currently, doing a crab maneuver with my back, being stabbed by this is a terrible analogy. I'm on both sides. I'm sitting on the fence. My ass is full of splinters. Don't blame me. I don't know where to go with this. I really don't know. I did not play any Islamic nations when I had access to the game. My time was quite limited, unfortunately. So I can't say how it feels to actually play it, but I think I would have to get my hands on it and play as, say, the Ottomans, play as Mamluks, or whatever, to kind of understand where I want to go with this and what my actual opinion is. Just reading it, I don't think is enough for me personally to have a solid opinion. And improving stability, plus 20, that's... At the start of the game, this is worth way more than this. Later on in the game, when you have kind of made yourself a bit more comfortable with stability, maybe this won't be as valuable, but start of the game, it's no contest, really. There's also the option to perform a pilgrimage to one of the holy sites as long as they're owned by the country, an ally, or someone with good relations. Performing a pilgrimage will give a small increase in piety, as well as sending the ruler on a holy journey. Maybe your ruler will die on their journey. Also, cost an amount of money. I feel like this is probably going to scale, and you lose your ruler for a year, which is interesting. Another important aspect to mention the fact that Muslim countries have access to some unique laws and policies, such as the Iqta. It's the Islamic practice of tax farming, collecting land revenues from the peasants as part of zakah, and the giving of alms, which Islamic states generally collected as their base income. So you get more tax efficiency, but your estates dislike it. Progress to capital economy. This is something you're going to turn on every time, because this is actually really, really good. Tax efficiency is an amazing modifier to have. Capital economy is my preferred balance on the societal value scale, and you can very easily cover off 5% estate equilibrium. We have the nikah, is the solemn and legally binding marriage contract between a man and a woman. So you can have an extra 4 female spouses for males, and and females can have max 1. Oh, sorry, it's maximum, not extra. So 4 or 1. Fair enough. We also have Sharia law. Sharia law, it gives plus 25% clergy power. It lets you convert people a bit faster, and you tolerate heathen beliefs a little bit less. Implementing the Sharia law will unlock an extra law, Sharia jurisprudence, with policies dependent on the country's main school. So, because of Shafi jurisprudence, we get trade efficiency, which is, again, this efficiency modifiers are really, really powerful. Also, a couple of unique buildings available for Islamic countries. We first of all have the madrasa, which will convert 10 pops every single month to whatever Islamic religion you are. You can build them in towns and cities. Increases max literacy. Tribesmen to peasants. I guess this is the promotion speed, but it also makes your clergy consume a little bit more food. Really, really good building. I would build this everywhere I could. Center of knowledge dedicated to the promotion of studies, madrasas gather within their walls many students, many of them having come from afar. Both earthly and religious matters are discussed inside, and their wisdom is for all to hear. We also have the Sufi Lodge, giving more max literacy for the clergy. Also makes them eat more food, and you get more pop conversion speed. You can build them in town cities and also in rural areas. A place of spiritual Sufi practice and education in religious mysticism. A Sufi lodge is a center of Sufi devotion, referred to by different names such as the Kanaka, Zawiya, Ribat, Dargah, and Takya. Its construction and funding represents an act of piety and serves as proof of the support of Sufi practices and the spread of Islam. So, that is all for today. Thursday is a new behind-the-scenes video. This has already come out as at the time of recording. It's very fun. And the helmet that I'm wearing in my Twitter profile picture is in the background of the interviews they're doing, which is quite fun. But yeah, definitely should go and watch this because it's awesome. I'll put a link to it in the description. But before we get into that, first of all, you can see the disagrees here coming because of this is essentially the piety complaint people. Essentially, and I don't know if I disagree with them or not. Again, I'll leave that up to people to decide for themselves. But we also have some comments to go through. So, did the Safavid order start as a building-based country in 1337? And what about the other flavor for the Safavids? So, the Safavids already start the game as a school. Around the 1400s, if an Islamic country owns Ardabil and has the Safavids as its main school, an event will trigger creating a new country in that location, Ardabil, and it allows the player to change to it. That's gonna be a fun run, I think. Ardabil is aren't they historically the ones that eventually form Persia, Iran? I'm pretty sure that's the case. But yeah, that's gonna be a fun one, I think. Will the Islamization of Southeast Asia be represented? Yes, Islam already starts present on some islands in northern Sumatra. There's also content related to the expansion of Islam throughout Indonesia. Very nice. How do you go about forming the Caliphate? They'd like it to be an IO, international organization, and then a formable, but it's not yet implemented. That's why they don't talk about things that aren't implemented yet. Can you set out on or call for jihads? Yes, you can do both. Does piety reset to 0 on ruler death, as it did in EU4? Not currently, though maybe that will be the case. Whenever they say not currently, I always get the feeling that it's a no, but we're going to do that. Otherwise, they would just say no, right? I don't Is the Kaaba a building or an artwork? It's a holy site and a work of art. That's Mecca. Why does going negative in piety also give more satisfaction to the clergy? It's not a typo. Your clergy is more satisfied if your country is going on full legalism or full mysticism. Less satisfied if you're in between. So there's a clear distinction for your society. So the clergy would be very unhappy with me not being able to decide whether I prefer piety as mana or piety as not mana. And the piety, like I'm sitting on the fence, they would not be happy with this. You know, they get more estate satisfaction if I choose whether I like it or I don't. What age will Muslims be able to marry in the game? So, this is the... First of all, interesting question. Like, second of all, the answer, I'm not sure I'm vibing with this answer. All characters are considered adults at 16 years old, and they can marry at 21 years old. This is because of compliance with Peggy. What? What do you mean, compliance with Peggy? Your company owns Crusader Kings. You have betrothals from birth and marriage at 16. You have EU4 where you can do royal marriages at 16. I mean, you can do royal marriages anytime, but like... Really? Really? That seems weird. Like, Crusader Kings literally exists. You can marry at 16 in CK2 and CK3 and start having children, and I would argue it's a way more... I mean, it's not even I would argue. It is objectively a way more character-focused game where you're playing as the dynasty, but you're playing as the characters doing these things. Like, your character could become pregnant at 16 and have children, and Peggy didn't give a flying fuck. This seems weird. Like, did Peggy just get, like, way more strict in the last few years? I don't understand that at all. It's very, very strange. It's very, very strange. I don't understand. I don't understand at all. Yeah, I don't know. Isn't 70 stab way too much? They're actually rebalancing it today. They've been checking different values with QA and they think it's a bit high, making piety too static. Firstly, I would argue that piety being static is probably a good thing for the people who are like, oh no, this is mana. But yeah, I think 70 stab is also too high, but I wouldn't make it too cheap because I do want piety to be more static. Cortex here asking, is Alevism and Alawi, are they two different schools? It's you know, and again, all right, here we go. The word ignorance. It's not an insult. It just means you don't know something, and there's nothing wrong with not knowing something. So I had a lot of people in my Roman video complaining about the word ignorance and that I wasn't using it right when I'm literally using it in the objectively correct manner, and they just didn't understand it anyway. But either way, there's nothing wrong with being ignorant. I am also ignorant of this question. There are two different Islamic traditions and the descriptions in the game. So Alevism, following the teachings of Haji Baktas Wali, Alevism is a syncretic mystical school emerging from the Imamiyya school, but incorporating traditions from Tengri and older Turkic beliefs. Also takes some aspects from Sufism, like the presence of a spiritual leader and mysticism practices. And for Alawi, also called Nuzairi, proclaim Ali ibn Abi Talib, the first Imam, according to Shiite beliefs, to be the manifestation of Allah himself. They differ substantially from the rest of Shiite faith in both rituals and theology, believing in a reincarnation and allowing the consumption of alcohol. I wonder if you take this school, then, will you be able to get around this element of ban imports on wine, liquor, and beer? That would be interesting to see. And where I am, there it is. Yeah, be interesting if that was the case. Are there any military orders for Islam like there are for Christianity? Not as of now, but they're open to suggestions to potentially add them. Just That's all that needed to be said, really. And finally, so you can only have one religious school, and you've grouped 3 different concepts into the mechanic. It's a mistake. A school of jurisprudence, madhab, is a different facet of faith to a theological school which endorses a creed, which is in turn a different facet from a Sufi order. A person can follow a Hanafi school of jurisprudence while being theologically Ash'ari and a member of the Mevlevi order. I am unfortunately personally ignorant of any of that, so I mean, take Lord Thanatos at his word or not, it's up to you. Really hoping for more nuanced and interesting view of the faith that's what's basically a better version of EU4's portrayal. At least it's at least the guy who is saying, who has clearly some knowledge of what he's talking about, is also calling it a slightly better portrayal of it than EU4, which, I mean, improvements are improvements. Even if you change it to allow a separately endorsed Sufi order, it would fail to represent the historical reality, as states often endorsed multiple. Ottomans famously endorsed Rumi's Malawi order as part of state events, while the Bektashi order was popular among the Janissaries. Just the 2 you can think of off the top of his head. Anyway, Spavi's response here. We'd like to potentially have the Madhab and Akida schools separated in different categories, because you may notice that we're already covering both types in detail. But that requires some non-trivial code work to make it work as it should, which is why I'm saying potentially. Regarding orders, asking if you can have the Sufi orders here. We don't really have Catholic religious orders as building-based countries, just some military orders like the Iberian ones. If sometime in the future we add religious orders, which is an interesting suggestion, we might think about it. We also have an initial draft of having the schools as international organizations, like with the Hindu branches, but that wasn't really working as we wanted from a design standpoint, so we changed to the current design. I do think, honestly, that while things can be in a state of like EU4, but better, and have it sit at that level, I don't think it's necessary for absolutely everything in the game to be absolute rework to high heaven made crazy, right? I don't think that's necessary. And while I do think Islam probably should be one of those things that has a little bit more attention to detail put into it, I am personally fine with it being like EU4 but better, with the understanding that down the line, almost certainly, without doubt, there will be a DLC, not DLC, but there'll be a DLC for a country like the Mamluks or the Ottomans. And alongside that DLC will be a free update that updates Islam and wholly overworks the religious mechanics. And I'm expecting that. I'm expecting that for Islam, I'm expecting that for Orthodox or Catholics, I'm expecting that for so many different facets of the game. And I think that's a good thing, right? Mechanical changes will happen in free updates. I'm almost certain of it. And then alongside those free updates will be DLCs that you can purchase if you wish to support the game. And if they are somewhat linked, then great. But in that regard, I don't think things being less than perfect is necessarily a death sentence for a mechanic. And also, like you said, if this is slightly better than EU4's portrayal, and EU4's portrayal of Islam is, I think, perfectly serviceable, as somebody who is ignorant and not Islamic in the least, I can't see that it's like. I think it is fine to be upset with it though, right? I think it's absolutely like if you are a Muslim, or if you just have an interest in Islam and you are unhappy with these mechanics, I personally cannot say no, you are wrong to feel that way. I mean, quite famously made I made a video a few days ago where I was very passionate about a topic. So it would be very hypocritical of me to say, no, you're not allowed to be passionate about this topic. So, you know what, have your passion, and if you are of the opinion that this is wrong, then, keep saying it on the forums. I wholly support that. For me personally, this is fine. But if you are passionate enough and the devs do, see that passion, and if your passion is popular enough and the devs change because of that, change tack, because that's what these Tinto Talks are for, then more power to you, and I hope the update, the rework, the change is what you hope it to be. honestly, legitimately do feel that way. So, yeah, that's Islam. That is the Tinto Talk. I'd like to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know them. I do read them, and I enjoy reading them. So, yeah, click the like button as well while you're down there, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.